Welcome to episode 66 of Pineapples and Thorns. I'm Kat, and with me tonight are Fado. Welcome, Fado.
Good evening.
And the illustrious Darth Yoda. Welcome.
Hello. Oh my gosh. Episode 66. I was so close to 69. I didn't even realize that until you just said it.
Well, should we just stop and you can come back and
Yeah, let's break. I tell you
Two
what, let's
episodes.
break this one and then say thanks for listening. And then we can start again. That'll be 67.
There we go.
It's a 4 and 1.
We're going to try this live stage thing again, and hopefully everybody bears with us. Last one had its little hiccups, but this one I'm thinking will go a little bit more smoothly. We're not dragging anybody up on stage, so that should eliminate some issues. I'm going to jump right into a little bit of CFF news before we get started. Red Thorn just did their 1,000th war this week. Totally slipped my mind. We were that close to it.
Just to be clear, we did not do 1,000 wars last week.
No, it was our 1,000th war. And I wouldn't even have known, except Peter kind of nudge. It was like, hey, this is 1,000th war. And I didn't do anything special for it. So we're just into it. Yeah, we won, so it was good. Our good friends over in Shimmy Jig got their 100th war win. So congrats to them. A bunch of us hopped over there to take part. And the CFF is going to be doing a draft war again. Signups are going to open on September 17th, and the live draft is going to take place on October 15th. C-Note is going to host the live draft, so hopefully everybody can sign up and hop on voice in the CFF server to listen to that.
Kat,
it's going to be...
yeah, do you have any information about that? Is it going to be mixed breakdown? What's the story on that?
Yeah, it's always a mixed breakdown. Town halls 9 to 15, no dip, no reach. And as always, there's going to be 4 teams. The captains this year are Sky, Barky, Queen JJB, and Brew. So it'll be a round robin format, 1 week of wars. Stay tuned for more information on how to sign up. And in October, there's going to be a special all Town Hall 13 event on October 13th. So that'll be a fun one. So again, keep your eyes open for signups for that. And
that's a war that my Town Hall 15 could have a 6-pack, I think.
But you need a 13.
It's called a handicap in golf.
Mine, I've been madly farming mine, so hopefully it'll be ready in time. Let's talk a little bit about the SOG Fall Tournament. Yoda, do you want to talk to us about that event? Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, sure. So this is actually the second one that we did. The first one we did was in the springtime, and it was our initial event to join the CFF, won by Bonsai Lemmings, who will be our returning champion this go around. We are going to be making some changes, so we're spicing things up for the one that's going to be coming up. So the date that the event is going to take place is September 29th. That's a Friday, and the event's going to start at 8 p.m. So some of the changes that we're doing this time is we're actually, so let me back up. The last one that we did, we actually ran the tournament bracket style over a 7-week or several week period. So this time we decided that we're going to do the whole entire tournament in one night. And instead of doing longer matches, we're going to shorten the matches. So the matches are only going to be a 5-minute prep with a 15-minute war. So they're going to be really quick, a lot of action.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. The final match will be played with the standard time hit rules. So you're looking at the 5-minute prep time, 45-minute war. We're also, one of the things that we changed, and we're really excited about this. So each team captain is going to be able to ban a troop for the opposing team. So, for example, an example I'll give is everybody knows Grom in CFF, right? OPSO, inventor of the Grom Stomp attack, really good with Super Hogs. So if I were going to be an opposing team captain, that would probably be a troop I would ban. So we think that's going to spice things up, make it a little bit fun. Also, it's going to be streamed live by our good friend Mords in the CFF. So really looking forward to that. Signups are going to close here pretty soon, though. I'm not sure exactly when this episode is going to come out, but the signups are going to close on the 22nd. So that's Friday the 22nd. Okay. So there's still time for you guys to sign up. The only requirement is that you have five Town Hall 15s. to be able to participate in the tournament. And, you just need a couple hour block of time on that Friday, 8:20, 8:29 to participate. But the event was, it was well received last time we did it. We're really excited to put it on this month. And, I hope everybody enjoys it.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. The
Yeah, and
Magnus Hates Everything team is ready.
and right, I was just doing some quick math, and it turns out that with a 5-minute prep and 15-minute war, you could do 3 wars an hour, and so 72 wars a day. And if you multiply that by 7, you would still only have 504 wars in a week. So again, like 1,000 wars in a week is really something to behold.
Yeah, that's why I made sure when I heard that you guys had achieved that feat that I posted in your Discord server. I mean, 1,000 words, mathematically probably impossible, but incredible.
Okay, another thing that happened recently was SOG participated in the Worlds. You want to tell us a little bit about that experience?
Yeah, sure. So, I guess what I'll do for the listeners who may not know what the tournament is about is just kind of give you a brief overview.
Sure.
So every year, to play into the world finals in Finland, Supercell puts on or I should say, the community puts on a series of competitions throughout the year, and the winner of those competitions earns a golden ticket, which allows that team to play in the finals. So for most clans, 99.9% of the clans out there, that is unachievable, right?
Yep.
Like, you're probably not going to go win the finals in one of these golden ticket competitions. But what I really like is that Supercell provides an option for basically your average clan to have a shot at earning their way to be able to play in the finals for a prize pool of, it's $1 million divided up over, depending on who places where. It's a total prize pool of $1 million. So this tournament they do it every year. It's done actually through in-game, so it's something that's very accessible. You don't even need to have Discord to be able to do it. Okay, it's all done through in-game, and the only requirement is that the clans that sign up have to have 5 Town Hall 15s. That's really it. So basically, almost any clan out there that wanted to participate and have a shot at going to Finland, you could. Now, what are your chances? Probably pretty slim, even for SOG. But it's neat that they do provide that vehicle for clans to be able to participate in that tournament. So that's something that we did. So how the tournament basically works is, over a 10-day period, you compete in a ladder format tournament. Okay, so you can run as many as 40 matches. Now, you don't have to run a total of 40 matches, but if you want to have any chance at moving to the next stage, you really got to run those 40 wars. The wars last their 5-minute prep, 30-minute war time, so they go fairly quick. But if you do the math, and I know Fado, you're a math guy, right? So 10 days, 40 wars, you basically have to average 4 wars per night. So that's roughly a 2-hour commitment, which is a pretty big commitment, but it's a ton of fun. So we participated in it this year. We participated in it last year, and it was a ton of fun. Really was.
How did you guys fare? Did you surprise yourselves, or was it more of a, well, this is why we don't do this for real?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So we're still in it. Actually, it's not over yet. We will play our final matches, and I see a couple of my teammates that's on the team here in the live chat. But we will actually run our final. I think it's 4 matches that we have left is all we have remaining, and we'll finish those up tonight. And we did hey, look, we did really well. I would say we probably met our expectations. Like, we had no delusions of grandeur, right? We knew that none of us were going to be going to Finland to compete in the world tournament, but we did feel like we were good enough to make it to stage 2, so be like one of the top 120 teams in the world. And we're on pace to be able to achieve that goal, which is really awesome. It was really neat. So, like, one of the wars that comes to mind actually happened on our very first day. We faced War and Glory, and for those listeners of the podcast, probably right now they're tied for 3rd in the world in the tournament. And look, we had a good night, and we actually beat those guys. And you guys know me, I'm not afraid to gloat. So I did post the screenshot of that in the CFF Discord server.
That's awesome. That is a huge achievement to participate and to say that you beat teams of that caliber. That they're more experienced, in that, pro scene, perhaps than the rest of us. So
yeah, and here's the reality too, right? Like nine, if we play them 9 times out of 10, they're gonna beat us, right? That's just they're really good. They're ranked number 3 in the world, but they weren't better than us that night.
yeah.
Yeah, it's the old any given Sunday, huh?
Yep.
So do you think you guys would participate again?
Yeah, absolutely. So, one of the things I definitely wanted to mention is, there was this problem that we had with passports.
Mm-hmm.
So, we didn't discover this until after we had started the registration process. But one of the things that Supercell changed this year was that in a requirement for you to be able to participate in stage 2 is you had to provide a valid passport. So they were going to validate. I don't even know how they would do it. It's like 800 passports, I think, is what we figured out they would have to check. But they have a process to validate and check every single passport. So a couple of us, myself included, went to go dig up our passports that we haven't used in years, only to discover that they were expired.
Oh dear.
So, yep. And there was no time for us to be able to get new passports. I mean, here in the United States, Kat, a passport can take, I think the minimum is like 6 weeks, and that's if you put a rush on it. It's
Yeah.
a multi-month process. Go ahead, Fado.
Yeah, you basically have to have travel plans in hand to get any sort of expedited service here. Typically by now it's like 4 to 6 months if you don't expedite.
Yep. Yeah, that's right.
crazy.
So yeah, so it was kind of a letdown because, like I said, we knew we weren't going to Finland. Like, we're realists, right? Like I said, no delusions of grandeur. We weren't going to Finland, but we did feel like that we could make a run in the tournament. Like, we felt like we were good enough to get to stage 2, which we've proven that we are, and then possibly go to like stage 3, and that was going to be our cap. So my gripe, and I know some people in Supercell listen to the podcast, is I don't really know why they would require that at such an early stage in the competition, because I think it takes away a lot of the fun for clans like the Sons of Guns, where we're not professional, but we are sweaty tryhards. Like, we went into the competition, we were practicing, we were making sure that we had the right bases, we're on voice. I mean, we're taking it seriously for an attempt to just see how far we could go, knowing we're not going to Finland, but how far can we get as our team? And a lot of that fun kind of got sucked away when we realized, okay, well, we can only get to stage 1, basically. We can't play in stage 2. So my ask would be, get rid of, like, that requirement is there for a reason, and I understand it, but move it further down the list. Like make it I think it's like a total of 6 stages during the tournament. Put it at like stage 4 or 5. Like, those teams have a legitimate shot of going to Finland. Like, those are the ones who should be validating passports, and not,
Right.
an SOG who are, praying and hoping that we get to stage 3, if that makes sense.
But isn't there
Yeah.
a bit of you have to make assumptions, so in a way, right? Because when you get to those latter stages, you actually don't have a lot of time to even get a passport at that point.
Yeah, well, I mean, to your point, Fado, we didn't have time to get a passport at the early stage, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, at the registration stage, we already knew that we weren't going to be able to play in stage 2 because we had 2 of us had expired passports. But let's say I would look at it like this, because it's a fair point, right? And I that's why Supercell does it. But I would suggest this. Just look at the Sons of Guns for an example. Let's say we got extremely lucky, right? And we made it to stage 5, where it's probably more applicable to apply a passport verification. Well, at that point, we would just be disqualified. You can't, you can't move on. You guys don't have your passports, and then that onus becomes on us. That's our fault. But at least we were able to get to that point, if that makes sense.
Well, you also have the whole, you can't bring guns on planes thing. That I mean, that's a real problem for Sons of Guns, isn't it? Oh, God, just kick me off the podcast. All right.
No
You're
comment.
fired.
I've been waiting to hear those words.
Darn it.
I can kill a podcast with one statement, can't
You're doing a great job.
We'll recover.
All right. Fado, you want to talk a little bit about the leadership stuff?
Yeah, so thank you, Kat. So Yoda, being the leader of the Sons of Guns, what prompted you to take the lead of the Sons of Guns clan, and what are some of the challenges you face running a small family of clans within you're running like a solar system of clans within a galaxy like CFF.
Yeah, so I guess the short answer was, I was asked to take on the leadership role by Call Me T. That's the short answer. The long answer is, I had before I joined the Sons of Guns, I had started my own clan like a lot of us did with my family, and I'd actually grown that clan to be fairly successful. We had our own feeder clan and a leadership structure and all of this. So I'd already had a fair bit of clan leadership experience. But at the time, I was looking for something like I was the most competitive player in the clan. And I didn't, I didn't like that. I wanted to be able to continue my progression as a player, become more competitive, learn and grow. So I decided to leave my clan, and that's when I joined the Sons of Guns. And, I started out in loot and grind. I wasn't even a max player. I think Town Hall 14 was the max at the time, and I was at Town Hall 13, strategically rushing my way up to max. And I joined Loot and Grind, and as a member. That's that's where I guess where everybody starts, right? But that's where I started.
Mm-hmm.
I started out, even though I knew, T and Cole and Hizzle and a bunch of the guys from various Discord servers. I started out as a member. And Kat, it was actually something you said that I wanted to bring up because it resonated with me. I think it was on the podcast with Sino, the Clash Tours podcast, and he had asked you, why you had got into podcasting, and you said, well, there was a void, and it's in my nature to fill a void, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that resonated with me because I am the same way. So when I show up to Loot and Grind, and then ultimately Sons of Guns, if I see an opportunity, I'm going to put my hand up, right? So if I see it, something that I think that can be improved, I'm going to say something respectfully, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I see something that I think that I could add value to, I'm going to put my hand up and say, hey, is this something that you guys think that I could do? And it, starts off with, I don't know, just, maybe spinning regular wars or running regular wars, or then running CWL, and then, joining the recruitment team or whatever it might be. But I just slowly started working my way up through the ranks, became elder and then became co-leader. And over time, I just began to take on more and more responsibility in the clan. Now, Call Me T, which most of our listeners probably know who he is. He was the former leader, and he's still a co-leader in the clan. He had actually taken on while he was the leader of Sons of Guns, he took on a greater role within our old family, which was EYG. So he had been promoted to the board there. Okay. So at that time, he had a lot of responsibility on his plate. And he was like, hey, he approached me. He said, look, you're pretty much already running the clan as it is. Do you want to be leader? And I said, yeah, it's great because, typically when, like in the real world, when you get promoted, you're usually following the person that got fired. Like that's normally how you get promoted. But in my case, that wasn't it at all. There was no issues in the Sons of Gun. Like I didn't show up there to fix any problems or turn things around. Like I was actually taking over, and that was flourishing and doing really well. It's just the leader, he had, he was taking on more responsibilities within that greater family of clans that we used to be a part of. So I accepted, and here I am today. I guess almost 2 years later, I think at this point that I've been the leader of the Sons of Guns.
Yeah, so I mean, it sounds like you knew what to expect, right? You were already very much an involved co-leader. Do you ever regret accepting leadership?
No, I've never regretted it. Like I said, it's in my nature. I think it's why, one of the reasons that I'm fairly successful in the real life and what I do, because it's in my nature to take on more responsibility and to lead. Like that's what I do. I would be lost if I didn't do that. Like if I didn't have a voice or an opinion that I could give, I don't know what I would do with myself. So it's just kind of something that I naturally do. As far as regretting it, no. Now, what I will say is that I do have bad days. I've had bad days as the leader of the Sons of Guns. I've made decisions that I regret. I've had bad weeks, as the leader of the Sons of Guns. But I don't think I've never regretted taking on the role. And one of the major reasons for that is because of the team of people that I've surrounded myself with. The existing leaders that were there when I took over, and then people that I've promoted over time make my job easy. Like view myself in the Sons of Guns as the most least important person to the clan operation. At least that's what I try to do. So everybody in the Sons of Guns, all of the leaders, they all have their own specific roles in running the clan. So it makes my job a lot easier than it might if I said, okay, I'm gonna do everything myself. That's not the way that I do things. As a matter of fact, like when T was when he was the leader, he was also the leader of our one feeder clan at the time. Now we have more now, but at the time it was just loot and grind, and he was running both. And literally on day one, when he promoted me, when he asked me to take on the job, I was like, yes, but I'm telling you right now, on day one, I'm going to be making some changes, and one of those is going to be I'm going to name a leader of loot and grind, because I don't have the ability to do all of that. I'm going to lead through the leaders that I have in my clan, because they're all very capable people. So that kind of makes my job easier, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and speaking of capable people, so obviously you can identify them through Discord, through in-game. A small factor might be, are they actively donating? Are they contributing to war? Are they helping others? Besides the obvious, what do you look for in a co-leader as the leader of Sons of Guns?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So I would say this is the most important thing, and it may actually surprise people. Okay, more important than the ability to lead is the want to lead. Okay, so the number one thing I look for in an individual is somebody that wants to be a co-leader. You can have all the talent in the world and be an incredible leader and have all the gifts, but if you don't want to do it, then I don't want you. Like that's just it doesn't work. Okay, so the very first thing is they have to want to be able to come into the clan, prove themselves. Fado, you mentioned a couple things. Donations, putting your hand up and saying you want to help. I mean, volunteering for things. These are all indicators that say, hey, I want to be a co-leader. Okay. The second thing that I look for is that ability piece. Okay. Do they have the ability to be able to lead the clan? There's so many people that all say they want to be the president of the United States, right? Or the CEO of GM. There's only a very small amount of people who can actually do it, right? So ability is a real thing. But here's what I'll tell you. I would rather have them want to do it than the ability, because I can teach somebody the ability piece. It's great if they already have it, but if they don't have it, I can teach that. What I can't teach is their desire to want to do something. That's just within them. But I can show them and I can teach them how to be a better leader, within the clan. And those are the two things that I really look for.
Oh, okay, very good. So, and surrounding yourself with good co-leaders, and as a leader yourself, there was probably a time period in Town Hall 15, especially before the latest update, where I know I was experiencing a little bit of burnout and whatnot. But how do have you seen that in your clan, and how have you dealt with it when that's come up?
Yeah. So Town Hall 15 has been rough, right? And I know there's a great question in here that Magnus posed that we'll get to later. So I won't get into the balance or anything like that just yet. But Town Hall 15 has had it's been like a roller coaster ride, right? When it first released, there was all of this excitement, right? We all were excited. We're all max players, right? So we've got this new content, we've got this new town hall, all these new toys and everything. There was this great excitement. And that kind of quick, after a couple of months, that quickly dissipated when we learned how tough Town Hall 15 was. And it was tough back then. There wasn't an established meta yet. Sarch hadn't really started coming around during those first couple of months just yet. And the triple rate was really low. But more importantly, the 1-star rate was very high. And that really led to morale problems, not only in the Sons of Guns, because of course I get around, I visit clans, I'm in various Discord servers, so I get to see how it impacts people, beyond the Sons of Guns, which I'm very fortunate to be able to do that. But it did. A lot of people retired at that time. I'm sure you guys probably saw it in Red Thorn, right? Like that first few months of Town Hall 15, that excitement wears off, and you start to get into the monotony of the 1-stars and low percent 2-stars. We started seeing some of our veteran players that had really kind of come back for Town Hall 15 just quickly go quiet again, and it happens, right? And then we had the update came out in the summer. And I think the update, again, it created a level of excitement. The triple rate did go up, of course. Everybody knows we had the increased level to all the troops, the heroes, but we also had some of the defenses that also had their increase. But the net result of that update was a improvement in offensive performance, though ever so slightly. Like, in my opinion, I do not think that they did enough during that update. But there was kind of that uptick again in excitement for the game. And then once we realized, oh, my triple rate was, 10% and it went to 12%. Does that really, can you feel that from an emotional level playing the game? You can't, right? Like, you might be able to look at it in the numbers and see it, but it's not changing your view of your overall gaming experience when it's that low. Now,
Yeah.
I think what has occurred though is a couple of things happened since the update, the summer update. I mean, so they nerfed the Sarch blimp in the summer, right? And that was a big hit because that was one of the few strategies before the update that actually worked, where you're like your average player, your slightly above average player could utilize that and get a triple. So they nerfed that. And then, so that was a big hit. And then shortly after that, there was a glitch that was discovered. And in case some of you guys aren't aware of that glitch, and as it pertains to Sarch, if you run a certain combination of trash CC troops, your troops come out slower, and the blimp effectively operates like it did before the nerf that they did to it. Okay. And I'll give you that combination in case anybody doesn't know. So it's going to be basically 49 housing space. It's 1 super wall breaker and 5 goblins. And when you utilize that particular comp, then your troops come out slower and you can survive, the big bombs and things like that were wrecking people before. So once that was discovered, and then some additional meta had come out, such as Super Hogs, such as Zap E Titans, Sarch Titans, like there started to be some really reliable strategies that would work, and you could get the triple rate that, where the triple rate started to climb. So we went from that kind of 14%, and then we started seeing 20 and 30% triple rates, which starts getting you closer to Town Hall 14. When that happened, I felt like that the player base started to wake back up again. Okay, so we started to see the morale shift a little bit, which was a overall positive thing for the game. So I guess my long answer is there's just been this, like, Town Hall 15 has been weird. It's been like this waves of kind of up and down, and I feel like we're kind of riding a higher wave right now, and morale is probably towards its peak that I've seen at Town Hall 15, almost to when it first dropped.
Yeah, I have Grom to thank for that.
Yeah, that super hold strategy is powerful, right? I mean, it works, and when it works, it increases morale. People have more fun playing the game.
Yeah. So, in terms of sometimes the burnout that can manifest itself in a lot of ways. For instance, having to chase people to do attacks, having to chase people to sign up for CWL. Have you ever struggled with that in Sons of Guns?
So I see people struggle with this a lot. In the Sons of Guns, we don't chase people. So if you don't sign up for CWL, you don't play CWL. There is no chasing people down for signups. Like, if you don't go to your assigned clan for CWL, you don't play CWL. And that's just the way that we do things. So it cuts out a lot of the headaches from a management perspective because of that. And then people tend, like, when they know, like, oh no, like, I'm, if I don't get to my clan, they're going to spin without me. They tend to move. Now, that being said, do they all move? No, they don't. But then there's consequences for when they don't do what they're supposed to do. And that's helpful. It does help with leadership burnout, because there's a lot less busy work that we're running around trying to do. Now, is there a downside to the way that we look at that? Sure. Because, if Grom doesn't move to the Sons of Guns and we spin without him, are we as strong as we were without Grom? No, we're not, right? But it does make leadership, it makes it a lot easier, and people know that up front. Like, when they come to the Sons of Guns, like, we establish, like, this is how we do things. So we don't typically chase people around and things like that. But we certainly have, leadership burnout, and And it happens like it, sometimes it happens with me, sometimes it happens with co-leaders, and it might not even be game stuff, right? It can just be, in real life things that come up. So, I think it's important for a clan leader and also for co-leaders to understand their team, right? So understand their mannerisms, how much they play the game, how they speak in the game. And if you see something that's off, it's incumbent upon the leader of the clan to reach out to that person just to check in, private one-on-one through a DM, like, hey, I noticed that, you're only doing 2 legends hits a day and you used to do 8. Like, first of all, it's perfectly okay, but is everything all right in real life? And a lot of times when you have those conversations, you'll discover that it's not okay, and you be there to try to support them. So, I think it's important for everybody just to be mindful of their team, be mindful of, their personalities. And when you see that shift, reach out to those individuals just to do a check-in.
Very good. Yeah. And I think that's one of the things about when you're working with a clan and you're working with responsible people, that you guys have a mutual sense of trust with each other, that when you ask those questions, they're not afraid to be like, yeah,
Mhm.
my toe fell off at work again today, and it's just I've only got 3 left. It keeps happening. So, um so, other than those things, like, in terms of recruiting without global chat, what sort of things are you guys doing for recruiting besides beating War and glory?
That helps, man. Getting to talk about it on the podcast helps us. So we in the Sons of Guns, we haven't had to recruit in a very, very long time. So we're fortunate in that regard, right? And I'm assuming that Red Thorn probably doesn't have to do a lot of recruiting either.
Yeah.
So we just haven't really had to do. But what I could do is I could tell you some of the things that have led to us not having to go out and do the recruitment piece. One of the things, and I would say this is by far the most important thing that you can do as a clan leader when it comes to recruitment, is provide a positive experience for your members in your clan. And I'm going to explain why, and I'm tie it back to recruiting in a second. Okay? But you want to make sure that, one, there's rules and there's boundaries, because people don't want to play a game where there's chaos. At least respectable people won't. You end up with a bunch of trolls or something in your clan. So you want to have rules, you want to have boundaries, but you want to make sure that you have a place where people enjoy coming to play the game. Right? That is really, really important, right? You got to make sure that you don't have people being toxic in your clan, because that will turn people off in a heartbeat, right? So one of the things
100%.
that yeah. One of the things that we've had a tremendous amount of success with in the Sons of Guns is when it comes to word of mouth, and this is where I'm tying it back to the providing a positive experience, because when you have one person that joins your clan, let's say I know there was a question here about attracting competitive players. Let's say that you had one person that's a Town Hall 15 joins your clan. Now that person that's a Town Hall 15, as long as they didn't do something dumb and buy their account, they've worked on their account for years, right? So they've played the game a long time. So that person over those years is going to develop a network of connections with other players. It's natural. So if that player comes into your clan and they really enjoy the experience that's happening there, they're engaged. It's a positive environment for everybody. They're having fun in the game. They're going to tell their friends, okay? Then their friends are going to come to the clan. Maybe it's one person. Well, guess what? That Town Hall 15 has also developed 2 years worth of networking with other people. And that word of mouth spreads. And really, that's the biggest thing that we've done in the Sons of Guns over the last couple of years. Because I would say every single person that's joined the clan in the last 2 years has known somebody. Like, I can't remember the last time somebody joined the Sons of Guns and they didn't get immediate elder because they knew somebody. Like they go, no, I've known this person for years. They're good. Great. There you go. They're elder. I trust you. You trust them. They're elder, and it's done with. So I think that's probably the biggest thing that we have done to help improve or help recruit. Well, actually, help not to have to recruit in the Sons of Guns.
And then the last thing on this is specific to being the leader. The last thing on this topic is, what sort of advice would you have for anyone either starting a clan or just getting into leadership?
Yeah. So this is a great question. So let's say I'll go back and I'll draw on my experiences from when I started, playing Clash of Clans, which is roughly, I think it was September of 2020. So it's basically three years now when I started playing, and I started a clan called Darth. And that is, figure out what you want your clan identity to be. And that's also an important piece when it comes to recruitment as well, is you want to attract like-minded people. But so figure out what you want your identity to be. Do you want to be a family-oriented clan? Do you want to be a competitive clan? Do you want to be a clan of everybody who loves disc golf? I mean, whatever it is, it's really entirely up to you on what you want to do with your clan. But for me, when I started Darth, I started it with my family. So I said, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a clan that's incredibly family-oriented. Right? It's a place where you can drop your kids off after school and they're going to be looked after. Like, we didn't allow cursing and all of this other stuff. Like, no, there was absolutely zero nonsense in that clan. A 2-year-old could play there; they would be fine. So we made sure that our clan description said that. We made sure that we had people that were assigned to monitor chat to make sure that people were following the rules that we had established for a family-oriented clan. Right. So now fast forward 2 years, and now I'm the leader of the Sons of Guns. The Sons of Guns is not a family-oriented clan. It's not a clan where you drop your kids off to, because if you do, they will leave with a different vocabulary than when they got there. Right? We're clear in what our clan is. Our clan is an adult, competitive clan, right? So that's what we are. It's clear in our clan description. It's clear in our reputation and how we do things and what we do. And the reason I bring those two up because they're complete opposites on the spectrum of how, the different types of clans that you can run. But it really is important to make sure you find that identity. And you need to find that identity quick because you want to attract people to that clan that share in that vision. And if they really buy in and share in that vision, those are the people, again, if they have the want and possibly the skill to be co-leaders, that you want to promote pretty quickly to help you build that clan.
Well, I got to imagine it's pretty hard breaking up with your family, though, being like, screw this. I mean, this family-friendly, one starring on a TH3 business is over, folks. I'm done. I'm out.
Well, you mentioned it was a slow process, right? So it wasn't like one day I was like, God, I'm out of here. So my wife stopped playing, my kids stopped playing, the various families stopped playing. So that family clan morphed into something else like years later. But yeah, it would have been funny if it was still that kind of just my family and a group of families playing, and I was like, yep, you guys fend for yourself. I'm out of here. It slowly dissolved.
So, yeah, well, it used to be a co-leader, Jimmy, and now you're an elder because you didn't, eat your vegetables. Sorry.
That's right.
So how do the Sons of Guns manage clan capital on the weekend?
We don't.
Excellent answer.
Yeah. So I mean, here's the thing. So we do have some people that take clan capital seriously, and I'm all for it. Like, play the game however you want. But I would say 90% of the players in the Sons of Guns, we just go on and we do our raids to get our raid medals so we can self-donate to to ourselves. Like, that's what we do it for. I mean, honestly, I have no idea even what league we're in clan capital. That's how kind of unengaged I am. The only time, I know this episode is about clan leadership, so I will mention this. The only time that I have to get myself involved is when these knuckleheads will, they'll do an attack on a base, clear 50% of it, and move on to the next one. For whatever reason, that really riles people up. So I find myself having to step into to handle those situations. But it's YOLO really for us in the Sons of Guns. I actually think our feeder clans are in a higher league than us because like those. They're different, right? So they can be a Town Hall 10 and they get to play with the Town Hall 15s. So like, this is, it's probably a bit more engaging for them. And you see that in the, in the level of play. Like, they're, like I said, I believe that they're like, I think Hanshot First, which is our feeder for Loot and Grind, I think they're in a higher league than the Sons of Guns is, because we just go on and, I know they just did a nerf to the spells and whatnot, but we would just go in and drop the what's the spell called? I completely have a blank right now.
The Skelly spell?
Oh yeah, the skeleton spell. You drop 3 of those and you send in your troops and you kind of done.
So wait, loot and grind is in a higher. I find that extremely disappointing. What would it take to get the loot and grind leadership on mid podcast, Kat?
I don't know.
Look and
Probably
see.
a miracle at this point.
They would
Um,
probably kill me, but I could see if they're on. No, I'm just
so with a regular, like a random spin, so what does that look like in SOG? How many people are you typically spinning with? What sort of breakdown?
yeah. So the breakdown is easy. So in SOG, we only run max accounts. So it's all max heroes, max Town Hall 15s is all that we run. So that's the easy answer. Now, as far as the amount of people that participate, that can vary because we're like, as you guys know, we're fairly active when it comes to events. Like if there's events, there's a bunch of Sons of Guns people there typically. We also do a lot of friendly wars, so we're constantly doing 5v5. So the number of people who participate in our wars tends to fluctuate. So the normal number is usually around, like, say 25 to 30 is probably the mean number that participate in the wars. And again, a lot of it has to do with just people traveling. Like right now, my count is in Knickknack because we're getting ready to finish up our the world qualifiers tonight, right? I had my count, my other Town Hall 15 was over in Shimmy Jig, doing their 100th war. So we're constantly moving around, which is a bit challenging, but I would say the number is probably 25 to 30. One of the things that we do differently that I'll mention while we're on the topic is, so I know like Red Thorn, you guys do back-to-back wars, right? So you're spinning one spin, you guys start another one. So we do it a little bit differently. So we only do 2 spins per week. We spin a war on Sunday night, and then we spin a war on Tuesday night. And what that allows is it allows play on the weekends. So it allows us to do more 5v5s, more events, more things like that on the weekends, and I have to worry about ourselves being stuck in a spin. So it's kind of a long answer, but there you go.
And then for CWL, is it 50? I'm guessing it's 15s for you guys. And what do you do if someone misses a hit in CWL? Like, because that that can have tremendous consequences.
They just get benched for the rest of CWL. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we run. So to get and this is something that we recently changed the way that we do our rosters. So in the past, like we're fortunate where, of course, we play in champs, right? So you're running a 15V, and then we always run 1 or 2 alternates in the clan for that roster. And we're fortunate in the regard that we've in the Sons of Guns overall family, we probably have, I don't know, like 70 Town Hall 15s. And of the 70 Town Hall 15s, 40 of them want to play on the Sons of Guns roster, right? That's like the parents table over here in Champs 2, right? They want to go over and they want to play on that. So the way that we used to do the rosters is one of my co-leaders, which I know many of you know, his name is Cole. He and I would just kind of subjectively figure out who was going to be on the roster. So we would look at things like, how did they do last month? Or have they been participating in wars? Have they been practicing? Where are they at in Legends League? And it was kind of like a feeling type of thing. We're figuring out who we think the best 15 is to join the roster. So what we found is, people, they did it like that, right? They're like, well, why didn't I get selected for the roster? We would try to explain it, but again, because there was subjectivity to it, there wasn't a concrete answer other than, hey, we just didn't think you were good enough, right? And nobody wants to hear that. Nobody wants to hear that. So one of the things that we changed over the last couple of months is we created a system between Loot and Grind, which is the main feeder for the Sons of Guns, and the Sons of Guns, where we run a 15 in each. Okay, now Loot and Grind is in Masters 1, and then Sons of Guns is in Champs 2. Okay, and we'll run a 15 again with that 1 or 2 alternate in each. Now at the end of CWL, the top 3 players in Loot and Grind will promote into the Sons of Guns for the next month's roster. And the bottom 3 performers in the Sons of Guns will demote down to the LNG roster.
Promotion and relegation, huh?
Yep. And what it did was it provided a fair system for the selection process. Well, there was no selection process, right? At that point, the system does it for themselves. And it provided a level of objectivity to the rosters. Everybody understood it. Everybody knows what the stakes are. And the interesting thing that happened is we started discovering players that were really good attackers that just happened to be like really quiet people in Loot and Grind that actually went to the Sons of Guns and really started kicking the crap out of CWL. Like those guys were like on fire. We're like, whoa, what is going on here? Like we didn't realize these players were so good. So that system, we've really benefited from that. And one of the results is, we just promoted to Champs 2 last CWL. And I would credit the way that we had been doing the rosters for the couple of months, because you slowly, like, the best people filtered their way to the, no matter which was their home clan, and they gave us the best shot to win.
Yeah, it sounds like a great system.
It's great until you get demoted out of Sons of Guns, right? I mean, how do you handle? How do people who get demoted? I mean, they can't universally just be like, oh, okay. I mean, they'll probably take that kind of bad. How do you handle that situation?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'm gonna tell you how we handle the promotions, and I'll tell you how we handle the demotions. So if you promote out of Loot and Grind, that's a big deal. So one of the things that I do as clan leader is at the end of every CWL, and I don't know, we normally run 4 or 5 clans in CWL, just out of the Sons of Guns family. At the end, I always do a recap. So this is how this clan did. Did they promote? Did they demote? This was the MVP of the clan. And at the very end, we celebrate who promoted out of LNG, because that's a big deal, right? So you're now going to, like I said, you're going to the parents' table. You're going to the show. You made it. You're up there. So those get celebrated, and and big announcements that we send out at the end of CWL. Now, to answer your question, which is the harder question, what do you do with the people that got demoted? So we don't do anything. Like there's no mention of it. Like, I'm not going to put that out in the communication. Like, oh, by the way, so and so demoted. We just don't. Right. So what I do is I just send them a DM, and they already know, right? So they don't really even need me to tell them, because there's a list, right? At the end, you get, these are the rankings in CWL in game. You can see it, so they already know who they are. So there's no point in it. What I do is I'll send them a DM and just be like, hey, you saw, right? And they'll be like, yeah, I saw. I'll try harder next month, And that's it. We just don't. There's no need to point it. They know who they are, and we go from there. And then we've had several people who have demoted into LNG and promoted to SOG multiple times. One of them, who's in the live chat right now, is Antonymous, who is kicking butt on our Worlds team right now. So the system works.
If you could ask Supercell for something to help with clan management in game, what would it be?
So clan management in game, it's tough, because to manage clans in game, especially when you're talking about a Sons of Guns, a Red Thorn, a Magirian army, there's a bunch of clans that we could list, large clans. Let's just say that you can't do it in game, and I don't know that there's anything that Supercell could do to replace a program like Discord. You need something like that. You need a communication tool that all its job is to be a communication tool, not a game and a communication tool. Like, you have to have both. So I don't know if there's any one thing that Supercell could do, because it would just be too large of an undertaking. Like, we rely so much on Discord that there's no way that you would be able to implement all of that into the game. So you can't. So you got to throw that out. So it's never going to happen. So what I would do if I were Supercell and I could ask them to do one thing, I would say provide more integration between Discord and the game. And that could be something as simple as, an easy way in game for somebody to click a link that's going to take them to a Discord server, right? So no matter, like, I'll give you an example, like, no matter how much we advertise in our clan description that, hey, we don't accept in-game applications, you have to go to the CFF server, blah, 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 blah. People will still attempt to join. And if the account looks good, we're going to let them in and just have a chat. We're always like, hey, do you have Discord? No, I don't, or blah, 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 and all of this. And it would be nice if there was, at the very least, like, the minimum they could do is just have it to where there could be a link that somebody in-game could click that would take them to a server. I think that would be good. If I could ask for a little bit more than that, it would be, maybe there's a tab in-game that links over to Discord, where there's some sharing of information. Like, maybe you could see certain channels within Discord and reply to it within game, that level of integration. But again, you can't ever combine the two, because the two are very good at what they do independently, and you couldn't mix them. But if you could figure out a way to just integrate a little bit of Discord into the game itself and make it easier, that would be what I would change.
Yep, and then changing over to one of our very favorite questions we usually ask all of our guests. So the current month, the theme, Scenery and Skins, is all about the game of chess. So did you complete the events? Did you buy the scenery and skins?
No, so I did not. So I haven't purchased a scenery or skin in a very long time. I don't know. I'm not into it. Like, I check them out. But I haven't. As far as the challenges, I just don't have time to do the challenges. And since all of my accounts are maxed at this point, or basically maxed at this point, like, I have no need for any of the rewards. And when I'm doing 16 Legends hits a day and I'm participating in friendly wars or like the world qualifiers right now, I just don't have time to go in and try to do some random challenge for a builder potion I don't need. Now, that being said, there was one of the challenges during the month that our friend Trample Damage did, which was, I forget what it was called. It was like the Gambit Queen or something like Queen's Gambit. And that challenge was surprisingly fun. I heard him talk about it on his podcast, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go check this out. And you know what? That challenge was a lot of fun. It was, I didn't need to watch one of the videos to be able to do it, which I liked. And it was fun to experiment. So I completed that one on my main and actually went around and just did it on all my mini accounts as well because I thought it was fun. But beyond that challenge, I can't remember the last time I've even done one of them, to be honest. I can see why people do. I don't need the rewards and I just don't have the time to do it.
Fair enough. We're going to dive into some questions from the audience now. I know everybody's anxiously awaiting your answers on these. Oh boy, that's right. Okay, Magnus asked a number of questions, so we'll start with his. What time management skills do you use to juggle your accounts?
Okay, so right now I don't, and they're all max, right? So I play on the account that whatever account I'm using for whatever I'm doing that day. So what I'll tell you is the things that I do every day, unless something comes up, is every day I'm going to do my 16 Legends hits a day. So that's a given. And the way that I'd like to play the game is very different than most people. So I play the game in sessions. Like a lot of people will hop on, they'll do their 2 Legends hits, they hop off. I don't do it that way. I like in the evenings, I like to sit down and carve out, my 2 or 3 hours that I'm going to sit down and play the game. And I do my attacks that way. So it really depends. So I'm going to have my ones that I know that I'm going to do every day. And then it depends, like, is my 14, is it an event? Is it an award? Do I need to do those attacks? And that's what I'm going to do. Now, there was a time when I farmed, right? And when I wasn't always a max player, I did a lot of farming. I hated it, but I did do it. And when you're playing on multiple accounts, you have to stay up with your farming. So what I would do from a time management perspective is, let's say I had, my 2 hours at night. I knew this is my time that I was going to play the game. This is all the time I had to play the game. I would simply look at my accounts, figure out which ones needed to loot, where were my builder timers at. I never used Clash Ninja, but that is something that I know is a great tool because I've heard a lot of people talk about it. I would just pop in the game and go, all right, all my loot's full, and I don't have a builder coming free for 4 days on this account, so I don't need to touch it for a while. And I would just go to my next one and figure out which ones I needed to get the resources in, and I would spend my time that I'd allocated to myself to play the game, focus on the counts that needed the farming to be done.
Excellent. Another question from Magnus. How do you keep yourself engaged in the game, given the extensive upgrade times, significant resource costs, and the repetition of attacks?
Yeah, so I'll go back to where, again, when I did not have all max accounts, because it's kind of different today. But when I was worried about upgrade timers and downtime and things like that, I did what a lot of people do. I just created another account. I think our friend Cino's up to like 32. Like I never got that kind of that many accounts. That's kind of nuts. But I did. I created other accounts because once you guys know, like once you get to Town Hall, 12 these days at least, the upgrade times are long, and you could have periods of time where there's nothing to do in the game. So I would just simply pop on one of my other accounts and start farming that one up. So that's what I used to do when I was, when I had to farm, when I didn't have max accounts. And now today, I love to play the game. I mean, it's probably evident, in my excitement during the podcast today. I like to play the game. I do. Like, I like doing my Legends hits. I enjoy it. It's not a burden to me. Like, I hear that quite a bit, or I see that in a lot of players where they're like, oh, I got to go do my Legends hits. To me, I look forward to doing it. Like, that's my time to unwind and have fun. And it's like my me time for me. Like, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to do my Legends hits, I'm going to drink a couple of beers, and all is right. Or oh, great, I got two war attacks I get to do tonight, So for me, it's fun. Like, I enjoy it. So there is no burnout for me. Now, I haven't been playing the game for, 10 years, like some of the people that are listening on the podcast right now. I've been playing 3 years. So maybe in 10 years, it will be different. But for me right now, I don't experience it. I could run a Sarch E-Titan hit 20 times in a row and still feel good when I triple.
Now that most 15s are maxed, how do you feel about it? Do you think it's easier or harder to triple? Do you feel 15 is balanced?
Yeah, so I did go into a little bit of that earlier. Um,
Mhm.
here's what I would say with 15. I think the triple rate is in a good spot. I really do. It's harder than 14, but you can triple at 15, right? We've all done it, and it feels really good when you do, right? So when you get that triple, it feels better than it did at 14, because at 14, maybe we were tripling at a 45% hit rate, and now for us mere mortals, we're down to like 10 or 15, or if you're Grom, he's at like 70 or whatever. He's nuts. Um, but it feels better when you triple than it did at 14. Now here's the problem I have with 15. And I did allude to this a little bit earlier in the podcast, but the 1-star rate, that was what we did not experience at 14. I mean, of course there were 1-stars, right? But they were pretty rare. And when you get a 1-star, it's devastating, right? Especially when it happens during a big war or a friendly war or CWL, and you get a 1-star. It feels like if you care, and I know like the members in the Sons of Guns care, that stays with you the whole day, right?
Oh, yeah.
You're at work later on that day, and you're thinking like, oh my god, I let my plan down. What I think needs to change with 16, because I don't think you do anything with 15 right now, right? But I think with 15, they got to figure out. I think you can keep the triple rate, or 16, excuse me. When 16 comes out, I think you can keep the triple rate right where it is, but you got to figure out how to make it so there's less 1-stars, right? Because I think that's what kills the morale way more than not getting the triple. I think we feel pretty good when we get a 90% 2-star at 15, right? But you get that 1-star, and it's crippling. Like you really feel it. So I think when 16 comes out, they got to find a way to be able to bring that 1-star hit rate down. Like it should be a lot lower than it is, and that might be somehow weakening the town hall to make it easier to come down, or maybe it's introducing a new siege machine, or buffing the log launcher, whatever it might be. I think there's a number of things that they could do. But I do think, like, right now, I wouldn't change anything. And I'm going to say this with a big caveat. Now, I mentioned this earlier, but one of the OP attacks that we have right now for us sweaty tryhards is like Sarch, right? So Sarch works. Like, you don't have to be a pro to triple. You can run Sarch, you can run Hogs, but Sarch is a big part of the meta right now. And I think if they fix that glitch, I think that's going to be a big problem. I really do. I think you're going to see morale come way down at 15, because again, that 1-star rate is going to go even higher. So I think they need to leave it completely alone. Do not fix the glitch. Don't worry about I don't fix the 1-star hit rate right now. Do that at 16, but don't fix the Sarch glitch. I really feel like they got to leave that the way that it is.
Fair enough. Another question from Magnus. How does your spouse feel about letting you spend time/money on a mobile game?
She doesn't like it. So, this is what I would say. Okay? Well, one, I don't spend any money unless she's asleep. So let's just put that.
Well, yeah, all she has to do is log back into that family account and see your glittering new sceneries, and
That's the real reason he doesn't buy the sceneries.
So that's something, that a point that I could put out there for everybody. Wait for her to go to sleep to purchase anything. But now, hey, look, here's the way that she feels about it, and I know that not all spouses are going to feel this way, but man, there's a lot of worse hobbies I could have, than playing Clash. Playing this kind of nerdy game where I'm at home. I could, we're all adults. We could be at the bar drinking if we wanted to, right, or doing other dangerous behavior. I stay at home and I play a silly game. And yeah, I play it. I do play it too much, right? I play a few hours a day, but I think she looks at it like, well, I guess there's a lot worse things he could be doing with his time than playing some silly mobile that he clearly likes. But wait till they go to bed and spend any money would be my advice.
Okay, JT of 618 and ODS and Magnus all had a similar question. Do you have any tips for recruiting good active members, like recruitment methods? Because attrition is inevitable.
Yeah. So unfortunately, I rambled on about this earlier, so I think I've probably already answered this question in detail. There's a couple things I didn't mention that I'll share on this time. So Something else that you can do is be involved in the community. And it's funny because when I look at that name JT, JT was actually a part of my old family clan way back in the day. So I actually know who that is. He's not in the Sons of Guns right now, but I do know who that is. And obviously I know ODS and Magnus. So one of the things that you could do as a clan leader is be out in the community. Okay. Get yourself out there, like participate in events, like join various Discord servers. Of course, you've got us in the CFF, you've got Clash Tours, and you've got all these other, amazing servers with all of these amazing people. And what ends up happening is you build a network of friends, right? And we'll tie this back to recruiting. But you're building this network of friends, and you're getting your clan's name out. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to come into the CFF and start poaching our players, right? we're not going to be happy about that. You probably won't survive there very long. But let's say JT and I become close friends, just through Discord and doing events and things like that. And I know one of the questions was, they're looking for how to get competitive players. Well, let's say the Sons of Guns is full, right? And somebody, which is a problem that we deal with quite a bit in the Sons of Guns. And then somebody tries to join the clan and I don't have room for him. I might go, hey, I know this guy, JT, he's got a clan, he's a great guy, I know him. Well, I might send that player over to them, right? So that's just one way that being involved in the community can help grow your clan. And it also just gets your clan out there, right? People know who you are, they know your clan, they'll start asking questions, and you can grow your clan that way. So that's one thing. We talked about the rules and guidelines. The other thing that I would point out, and this is the last one that I have that I didn't already touch on, and this specifically only applies to clans that are just starting out. So I know that the in-game recruitment tool, like it gets a lot of hate, right? And rightfully so. Like, not incredibly useful. What I would tell you is when I started the family clan Darth, that thing was like my best friend, because what I would do is I would go in and I would open up the tool, and one of the features that's in there is you can look at the player's activity. So I would not pay any attention to Town Hall. I didn't care. I just looked at their number of attacks they had in that month. So if it was 15 days into the month, and they had 1,000 attacks, I'm like, boy, this is somebody who's incredibly active. I would send them an invite. And then what I would do is I would use the shotgun approach. Okay. Again, I had my clan description and what I wanted my identity to be, and I would explain that to people when they arrived. But I was just spanning it out there. Like if they had a lot of attacks, I would just invite them in. And then once they got there, we would feel them out. If I felt like they were a good fit, they would stay. If not, we would kick them. And so I would do that. I would have my co-leaders do that every day, where we would go out, we would send 10 requests, and you can fill your clan up pretty quick that way. And once your clan is full, it's kind of like a snowball effect. It makes it easier to bring new people in. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, if you're a small clan, if you're just starting out, you're a clan of 5, don't overlook that tool, and don't let people tell you the tool is useless, because it's not. It actually, for a small clan just starting out, it could be a very useful tool if you use it the correct way. Don't just send invites to random people who aren't active in the game. That you're just spinning your wheels.
That's good advice. Let's see. Zed Lawman, that's my Canadian Zed, asked, what is your favorite and least favorite thing about Clash of Clans? And do you play any other Supercell games?
All right. So my favorite thing is I kind of mentioned this, but it's playing in Legends. Like, what I like is the ability that, to think that literal Darth Yoda could become #1 in the world in Legends, which will never happen. But the opportunity is there. Every month, we all start out with 5,000 trophies, right? So we start off at 0. So Grom might be at 5,800 right now, and I'm at, well, actually, I've dropped because of the world tournament. But let's say I'm at my normal 55, 5,600. Well, guess what? Next month, we both start at 5,000. So I think it's that opportunity every month that refreshes, that everybody's on a level playing field again, and we can all push and try to get as high as we can. There's that, coupled with the fact that there's 0 pressure in Legends, right? It's just you against, whatever base you happen to spawn when you click the button. So there's no pressure, right? Nobody's watching you. It's just you, and it's just that base that you're attacking. So I think those two things is why Legends is the thing that's my most favorite. My least favorite is farming. I'm so glad I'm done with farming. I didn't like it. As a matter of fact, I avoided at all cost. Even when troops used to cost elixir, I just went in with full armies. I just said, screw it. I'm gonna pop my training potion, and I'm just gonna keep training. Go in and 2 or 3 town halls below mine to get the loot, because I hated farming so much. So that would be my answer.
All right. And then his other part of the question was, do you play any other Supercell games?
Yeah, sorry. No, in short, no. Never tried. I don't have time. Nope. Not saying I wouldn't in the future. I don't have anything against it. I just don't have time. So no, I haven't even tried one.
Well, if you started Clash in 2020, then you might be able to pick up Brawl Stars in a few years and be just fine.
Oof, no. Let's see. Fuzzy wants to know, if you could only watch 3 Star Wars movies for the rest of your life, which ones would they be?
Okay. So is he asking just me, or are we all going to answer?
We can all answer. You go first.
My name's Darth Yoda. I'm going to put these. So there's a right answer, and I'm going to put them in order of the top 3. We'll go 3 and count down to 1. With 1 being my favorite. So number 3, without doubt, Return of the Jedi. Right. Number 2, and this may surprise some people, but it is Rogue One. Love that movie, even though it's one of the more recent films. Mm-hmm. And then number 1. If anybody has anything other than The Empire Strikes Back as their number 1 movie, you're a Star Trek.
Oh, those are fighting words.
Wow. Well, Fado, you're next. I don't know.
All right. Hold on to your hats. All right. My number 3 is Star Wars 3. My number 2 is Star Wars 2. And 1 is Hardware Wars. The end.
Yes. Oh boy. Let's see. My number 3 would be, let's see, the Han Solo movie that they did.
Solo. Yep.
Yeah. I like that one. And my number 2 is Rogue One. And yeah, my number 1 is Empire Strikes Back.
We're 2 of 3. That's not bad. I don't know what Fado picked, but at least
I can't. I'm not as big. I'm a fan, of course. I've seen them all. The one that really stood out was Empire Strikes Back by far.
I think anybody that's seen all the Star Wars movies, most people.
Yeah, for sure. And then another question.
Hold on, time out. Telehammer.
Time out.
X-Wing. Oh my God, X-Wing is unbelievably great game from like 90. Oh yeah, 93 or 94 on a PC. Oh my God, that game was just endless fun. They don't make
X-Wing
games like that anymore.
Yeah, it was. I think we're probably pretty close to the same age. I can remember those games. They were awesome.
All right, I don't remember that game. Fuzzy also wants to know, where did the clan name Sons of Guns come from?
Okay, so when T and I did this podcast a few months ago, we actually tried to. We couldn't. We don't have any idea. Like there isn't anybody that was originally a part of the Sons of Guns that's still in the clan. Like the clan has been around for probably since the inception of the game, or at least close to it. There isn't anybody around. We couldn't figure it out. We actually tried, and the best thing we came up with is it had to be a bunch of guys and gals that like guns. Like that's what we deduced from it, because we don't know. Yeah,
interesting.
Is that because they censored Sons of Bitches?
I don't know if I have a feeling that's probably going to get censored out.
Oh boy. Okay, ODS wants to know, which Star Wars character would you most want to see introduced into Clash?
Okay, this is interesting. So I think there's probably a couple that's already in there. So Palpatine has got to be the super wizard, right? With the lightning shooting out of the fingers or whatever, what's going on. So I think probably already there. I think Chewbacca's in there already, right? That's the Yeti walking around. So it's kind of hard. Like, I know we've already got a few that I think are probably based off of Star Wars characters very loosely. But I would say probably Darth Maul. Do you guys remember Darth Maul? He's the one from the prequels, double lightsaber. Yeah. So it would probably be pretty neat to see him swinging around that double lightsaber around on a map. That'd be the one I would bring.
Awesome. Let's see. Trample wants to know, what does the organizational leadership structure look like at the CFF? It is a large family and takes some management.
Yeah. So, Kat, I'm gonna let you take that one. How's that sound?
Oh, okay. Put me on the spot. It's basically each clan has, or clan family within the CFF has a leader and a second that has a voice in the family leadership channel. And, it's pretty relaxed, to be honest. Fox does such a great job of running everything. And the clans, work so well together and work so well on their own that there's almost never any situation where we need to get together to discuss anything. So leadership chat's really, really quiet. So, we get together to talk about events and things like that, and then it gets filtered down into the other channels with the co-leaders and that, and everybody participates. Everybody just gets along. So it doesn't really take that. I mean, at the beginning, it probably took a lot of management to get it started, but now it's just everybody works so well together.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. I mean, as the one of the newest clan, well, the newest clan to join I mean, I guess we're not new anymore. We've been in for a while, but we're still are the newest clan. And when we came in, it was absolutely seamless. Like we were welcomed. We had our leaders that we selected that were going to be a part of the leadership team within the CFF. And to your point, Kat, yeah, if there was any issues, it usually just revolved around the Sons of Guns, right? So it was really us.
So you guys are such troublemakers. I don't know.
Right.
And then last question from Trample is, if 1 gem donations became 2 gem donations for items over 12 housing spaces, how would that affect your outlook on the game and or its economy?
Okay. So you want me to take this one, right?
I want you to handle this one.
Okay, I will. All right. So here's what I would say. Given the source of the question, I have to think that this is something Supercell is considering. Now, Trample has not said that to me. He just submitted the question, but he is in the creator program. So if it's something that Supercell is considering, I would strongly tell them to not do this. I think what would end up occurring is a lot of people would stop buying the gold pass. Okay, because right now, what are we, like, the 3 people that are on this podcast right now? What do we buy the gold pass? We buy it for the 1 gem donations, and possibly if you guys like the, whatever the scenery is that month or whatever it might be, or the skin. That's the reason that we, right? So now, if you're taking it to 2 gems that we now have to spend, well, that starts creeping up closer to the 5 gems that we would have to spend without the gold pass, right? So I think what I really believe what would happen is they would have a significant drop off in revenue. And nobody wants that, because we want Supercell to be successful. We want people to continue buying the game, that they are continue to buy the gold pass rather, because if they do, then the game is, they're generating money. The game will continue. We can all still, do podcasts and enjoy the game like we do today. So I think it would be very dangerous for them to go down that road. And again, it's just because you start getting closer to that 5 gem, and it's like, well, if it's 5, so now I'm going to spend, now do I really want to spend my $7 a month now, because I'm not getting that value that I used to out of it, and I'm not, and that's all I buy it for anyway. So I would strongly advise, if that were something Supercell were to consider, to not do that. I think they'd see a significant drop off in revenue. I'd stop buying the gold pass. I mean, I just speak for myself, and I buy 3 or 4 of them a month. I would just stop. I'd be like, yeah, I'll just do the 5. I'll just pay, I'll use my $7 to buy additional gems to potentially to do 5 gem donation. So yeah, I would not do it. What I'm curious, what are your guys' thoughts on that?
Fatal?
Well, I've been buying it pretty faithfully for the donations. It's hard to say. I now, in one account, in my main account, I've actually been really low on gems for about 2 months, but I've managed to stave off buying them, because through the gold pass, I still, I'm able to donate and be a good, clan mate and all that good stuff. And also, but still be able to, claim some gems on some things that I'm already maxed on, whether it's books and things like that. I'd probably still buy it until I figured out it just wasn't worth it.
Yeah, I think it would definitely impact my decision on how many gold passes I buy, because I mean, yeah, I gem donations. I'll gem a barb because I can't wait for it to cook.
It's a 6-second training time without the gold pass. So right?
I just can't wait. I just don't have time to wait. So yeah, I don't know. I think it would be a big mistake for them, because I think the 1 gem donation is a loss leader. It encourages people to buy the gold pass. So for them to raise the cost for, even if it was like for troops 12 spaces or over, it's like, no, I don't think it would be a wise decision at all.
No. yeah, I would see their revenue dip, and for the reasons I explained, I think that's not good for the game.
Yeah, for sure. And now we're at the shout out section. Darth Yoda, do you have any shout outs?
Yeah, well, first, obviously, really thankful for, Kat and Fado. Thank you for having me on. It was fun the last time, ton of fun this time. So really appreciate you guys having me on. I want to shout out to Barcode. I mentioned this earlier, but she recently joined the CFF server. She's the leader of the War Heroes. And their clan promoted into Champs 1, last month.
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
I think that's what we're all trying to do, right? Like, I think that was a huge deal. So congratulations to Barcode and the War Heroes for their OP promotion to Champs 1. Want to give a shout out to my 5v5 team. We talked about this at the top of the show, but I don't think I got a chance to mention everybody. So we've got, my scrub self is on the team, and then we've got Grom, we've got Telehammer, we've got Dad and Fuzzy. That's not me. That's a different guy. And then Antonymous. So those are the 5 guys on the team, and it's a big commitment. We've been playing together for 3 hours a night for the last 9 nights in a row. And a special shout out to Telehammer, who I know is listening and posting in chat. He took on the leadership role and is running the team. So I didn't have to do any of that. It was really great. So he just told me when to show up and what I needed to do, and I'm like, yes, sir.
That's awesome.
So, big shout out to him for taking that on. Want to give a shout out to my good friend Ace, who's just always such a fantastic, friend to me. We've got so many things in common. I try to look past all the middle fingers that I get, why 20 a week in the Discord servers. But he's a great friend. If he knows I've got something important coming up in life, he'll send me a message, check in, see how things are going. And, he's just been a great friend to me for really quite a long time now at this point. And then I guess I would probably be remiss if I didn't thank, on an episode about clan leadership, if I didn't thank my leadership team in the Sons of Guns. It really is a great group of guys and gals. They all have their role, whether it be, being a clan leader in one of the feeder clans, or running random spins, or managing our rosters, or managing the CWL. I mean, whatever it might be, they all do a fantastic job, and they make my job a hell of a lot easier. So shout out to all those guys. That's what I got. Thank you.
Awesome. Fado.
Yes. Hello. I would like to shout out Peter and Magnus for all the work behind the scenes, and for all the juggling Magnus is doing in his real life. I know I'm shouting him out a lot, but I love the guy, and he's got a lot on his plate. He manages to remain a valued member of the leadership team over at Red Thorn. Peter's a huge help with CWL as well. Want to shout out Darth Yoda for just being such an engaging guest and an interesting, always an interesting guy to talk to. So thank you for joining us on a Saturday night, and you've got other business to attend to, as you've stated. And of course, to the production team of this very podcast, Fox, and thank you for taking the lead on all this and helping us as well, and Mama Sid's as well with all of the cleanup that she has to do. So thank you both.
She'll be busy tonight. Let's see. My shout-outs basically echo everything that you say, Fado. I want to shout out the leadership teams in Phoenix Reloaded and Red Thorn and the Rated, 3 clans that I hold various roles of leadership in, and really can't manage the clans without all of you guys. So thank you very much, and shout out to y'all. And thank you everyone for listening. The CFF is a family of clans who love to play games such as Clash of Clans and Clash Royale, among others. You can send questions or comments to us on Twitter at RedThornCOC. To get more information on our clans, events, and podcasts, join the CFF Discord at discord.gg/clashfiles.